All right, now for the real fun and messy portion of this. Today is going to require all hands on deck, especially for cleanup. But I encourage you to have fun, try to look past the mess during the process of this, and then just have faith that we will clean up everything afterwards. Each table, again, will have different colors. Today I'm going to demonstrate with this bright green and this bright pink. And each table will have some similar tools, but they might also have some different. So some tables have a variety of these little sponge brushes. These have kind of a cool texture to them. It's important when we use these that we don't let too much paint get on it, because then it will lose that texture. Each table will have a toothbrush. We're familiar with the splattering effects we can do with those. Some will have these little eyedroppers to kind of suck up some paint and squirt it around. Each table will have a brush too, just to kind of collect the paint and kind of throw it onto the paper. Every table will have some sort of scraping device. This one actually works best after you have some paint on it. So try one of those other ones first, and then you can go back to that. And then some even have these little stamp kind of handle stamp things too that you can create a cool design. This one too, you don't want too much paint on it, because if the paint fills in those lines, then the texture will not happen. So let's begin with a few. I'll go right to that one. This one too, you can see I won't really be able to put it into my cup, so therefore I would use the brush and kind of paint it over my little kind of texture tool here. And then this you just kind of use as like a stamp. So for instance, I could stamp it down. Creates kind of a cool look. Now, you can choose to do a variety of different techniques. You could kind of do one technique here, another one, and continue trying different ones as you go along your paper. Or you could pick one idea, go across your whole paper, and then do a new color with a different technique and kind of keep on working that way until you fill it up. See, it's kind of cool when I alternate this, then it creates a really neat design. Okay, so that's kind of how that would work. Toothbrush, remember I'll use green for this one. You dip your toothbrush in, but then before you splatter, take a second, scrape off some of the extra so you don't get too much. And then remember, you kind of hold it with one hand, put your finger underneath the other, and the direction that you're pointing after you flick downwards will be where the paint goes. So you kind of hold it and splatter it. Okay? It looks cool when you kind of start to layer these techniques. Okay? But that is how you would use the toothbrush. Just be really mindful when there's people across from you. Always make sure you're pointing down when you flick. Okay? Now, the texture sponge. I can dip that into my paint too, but then like I said, right now there's too much paint on there. It's going to hide that texture, so I want to scrape it along the edge to get rid of the extra. And then this, you can kind of just dab and bounce around. This would maybe be a good one to do with one of your first kind of colors, and then maybe you'd splatter on top of it afterwards. Now that I got some paint on there too, I want to quickly show you the scraping tool. Lots of different varieties of this. Be very careful, you're much stronger than these. Be gentle when you're using them. But once you have some color, then you can kind of use it to scrape it around. Leaves kind of a little etching. Scrapes away some of the top colors too. Kind of cool. Lastly, some tables have these little eyedroppers. This, you just simply squeeze inside the paint, let go of it, and it will suck the paint up. And then you can use it to kind of draw and kind of squirt paint onto your paper. The final way you can do this kind of too with just the brush. Again, this paint's so watered down that I can just kind of grab my brush and let that kind of come around, or I can very carefully kind of fling it down to my paper. As I said, this will get very messy. Please just try your best to keep it on your paper, and then remember, we will all work together to clean it up afterwards. When you're finished, put your artwork on the drying rack, wash your hands, and then today we will pick an activity to do on the mat until we are all ready to clean. Have fun and see what you can do.